chapter 15 of Luke. Chapter 15 of Luke, verse 11. And he said, there was a man who had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of property that is coming to me. And he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose. Underline that. When he had wasted everything. When he had had plenty, there was no trouble. But when he wasted everything, there was plenty of trouble. Plenty of trouble. He wasted it, and what happened? Trouble everywhere. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into the fields to feed pigs. And he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate. Here's this last piece. You better hear it. What does it say? And no one gave him anything. You can have everything, blow it, and no one will give you. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger? Verse 18, ready? Read. Oh, you got to read better than that. Ready? Read. I am no longer worthy to be called. Treat me. And he arose and came. Amen. Going from ruined to restoration. Say that, everybody. Say it better. How does one go from ruined, all is lost, bad choices, to having a life that is fully restored? That's what I want to talk about. You can blow it, but it doesn't have to stay blown. You shake a neighbor's hand and say, oh, neighbor, we're going from ruin to restoration. Wrong neighbor. Catch another neighbor by the hand and say, oh, neighbor, we're going from ruin to restoration. A few years ago, I started my first automobile restoration project. It was a 65 Mustang. That 65 Mustang was, even in its decayed state, a beautiful car to me. But I started the project ignorantly. I had no idea how expensive restoring a car could be. Because the term doesn't always evoke the right kind of cognition or thinking. You think restore, it's going to be a simple job, easy, but you miss that beyond the things on the surface that need to be restored, There are some things you cannot see that must be not only restored but repaired. There were patches of rust that you could not see that had to be taken out and replaced with new metal. All of the rubber grommets and seals had dry rotted. They had to be replaced. If you were thinking you take a key, stick it in the ignition, drive it to the paint shop, the body shop, and have them painted and that's it, you're sadly mistaken. Because this car had sat so long, when you turned the key, nothing happened. You put a new battery in, nothing happened. While it was on the way to restoration, I had owned the vehicle, there was still much more that needed to take place to make it run like it did when it rolled off the assembly line in 1965. I want every person in here to understand, especially young people, that just because you want to get it right doesn't mean it's going to be easy. And any bridge that you burn, you will have to work twice as hard to repair. I wish I could get you to think with me. Because what we have done is we have believed that I'm sorry replaces the pain of abandonment, the pain of disappointment, the pain of throwing your responsibility and caution to the wind and just walking out and living your own life. And then when you come to ruin, you just come back home. You move back in. You find your room again and you pick up life like it was when you left out. Sadly mistaken if that's your belief. I want to argue that if you're going to be restored, you are going to have to go through a period of brokenness. Here it is now, not just brokenness because you lost everything, because that brokenness in and of itself is insufficient, because now that brokenness represents regret and not humility. I regret I lost it. I regret I made those decisions, but I don't regret taking it. Brokenness means I realize that I never should have been in this position in the first place. I realize I never should have gotten beside myself in the first place. That's brokenness. Let me argue it really quickly for you, ladies and gentlemen. In Luke 15, you'll find 4 specific things. Here's the first one. You'll find immaturity coupled with impatience. Immaturity coupled with what? The world's worst cocktail starts with immaturity. It's completed with impatience. If you are immature and impatient, you will almost certainly fail in life. I wish I can get some of the 40-somethings to holler back at your boy right quick. The problem of immaturity is you don't have enough experiences to tell you that this is no good for you. The problem with impatience is that you don't have enough experiences to tell you to wait. So now you don't know enough, and now you don't know enough to wait. Deadly cocktail. Deadly cocktail. You know, Ron, we don't write books about how to fail. We write books about how to succeed. But maybe a few of us ought to get together and write a title called How to Fail. And chapter number 1 of How to Fail is immaturity coupled with impatience. You want to know how to blow it in life? Stay immature and get in a hurry. Before you know it, you'll find yourselves hanging with hogs wanting to eat the slop. Immaturity coupled with impatience. That's what you find in Luke 15. This young man, it says it right here in the text. This young man, the younger of the 2 sons, a man has 2 sons. The younger of the 2 says to the father, give me that portion of goods that falls to me. One scholar seems to understand this Jewish context with such a rich understanding that he says that for this boy to ask his father for his inheritance before his father died was the ultimate act of disrespect. So now this boy has another problem. He is not just immature and impatient. He doesn't have any reverence for the guy that he's asking for the money. I don't know. Maybe you know somebody like that. They want your money, but they don't have any respect for you. They want what you can provide. Come on here. Come on, we cannot continue as young people to go to our parents with contempt, disrespect, frustration, and all those other millions of emotions, and then feel like that we can ask them for anything and get it. At first, if you want what I got, you got to act like you got some sense. Just look down your row. You ain't got to touch nobody. You ain't got to touch nobody. Just look down your row and say, everybody need a case of Act Right. Everybody need 24 bottles of Act Right. Immaturity coupled with impatience. So the younger of the two boys asks for his inheritance, and he gets his inheritance. And Scripture says that not many days after that, he takes a journey into a far country. He wastes his inheritance, everything that he's going to get from his father. He wastes it in riotous, wild, unrestrained living. Here's the next one. Ignorance coupled with increase. Ignorance. It's right in Luke 15. Cynthia, if this person who is immature and impatient doesn't change, they're going to unveil their ignorance. You never give a person that doesn't have enough knowledge anything of value or any substance, because if you give it to them, it only makes their ignorant behavior wider, bigger, broader. He has ignorance with increase. Listen to me. Solomon makes it very clear that a fool should not be in possession of resources, because a fool in possession of resources will continue to do foolish things. Foolish things. This young man is very clear. He's headed for trouble because he's immature and he's impatient, but we can clearly see that he's ignorant, and watch what happens when he's ignorant. He gets money. He gets money. There's some adults in here who've been living as long as I have will tell you, I'm glad I didn't get it when I wanted it, because I'd be in a far worse position today. I'm glad that it took this long to finally get some decent money, because now I know what to do. Years ago, I would have blown it. And if we would all just be honest, all of us have made some foolish money decisions, and it was because we were immature. Bad choices because we were immature. You take a note really quickly. God, give us time to grow up before we blow up. God, if you don't give us time to grow up, then everything we get will blow. And then we'll find ourselves begging. I don't know, the saints in this room, if you have not gone through struggle, you can't appreciate what it means to have the time. God, give me time to go through process. Give me time to value $1. Give me time to have collective experiences that teach me how to live. This man is ignorant. This young man is ignorant, Brandon, and with his ignorance, he's given increase. Listen to me carefully. If your child, parents are parenting young adults. If your child is not responsible with $10, don't give them 100. I don't need to tell you this. You know it already, but let me just rehearse it publicly. It's a part of my sermon. They're not responsible with $10. Why give them 100? They ain't responsible with 100. Why give them your debit card and your pen? One of the things I think we need to remind young people is when you blow it, you've got to work hard to get it back. Because this young man blows it, but his father never sends anybody to look for him. He blows it, but no mother ever sends him a letter. He blows it, but his older brother doesn't ask friends. When you see my younger brother, you tell him that we worried about him. Tell him we missed him at Thanksgiving. Tell him we want to see him come home. Nobody ever goes after him. Which means that maybe, parents, the message to you is until they come to themselves, they're not ready to be restored. Oh, I don't know. I've got to work with parents and young adults at the same time. God, give me the wisdom to do it. Because there's some of us in here, we are so Jesus-centered. We have this Messiah complex that makes us believe we got to rescue everybody. But here it is. If you don't want to be rescued, you'll get up for a few weeks only to go back to where you came from. Which is why for some of them, they got to come to themselves before you do anything for them. This young man is ignorant. I wish I could get a witness here. This young man is ignorant, and because this young man is ignorant, this young man will take all you have and go back to where he came from. Because his thinking has not changed. He's not suffered long enough. He's not gone through the pain long enough. He's not had to watch pigs long enough. He's not been at the bottom long enough. What we do is when they hit bottom, we bring them back up, and the truth is some of them need to live at the bottom a minute. Not ignorance, coupled with increase. Here's the third one. In need and incarcerated. He's in need, Ty. He's in need, and he is not bars. TJ, not bars, not bars. No bars, no keys, no guards. No bars. But he's incarcerated in his own experience, and there's nothing he can do to get out of it. The text says he is in need, and has no one. Nobody gave him anything. That's incarceration. I got all this need and no help. I've got all this need and nowhere to go. I've got all this need and nobody to give me a helping hand. Incarcerated. There is a tension that you will go through, ladies and gentlemen. There's a tension that you will go through, and here it is. The tension you'll go through is when you know what you need, but you can't get it because there's nobody there to help you. If you've not experienced that, you hadn't lived long enough yet. It's painful to be at a place where you got all this need and no help. I hope I'm putting something on your mind. While you're in this house growing up, you need to ask the right question. Shonda, if you can play a video game for 6 hours, you can come and sit down at the table and get lectured to about life for 6 hours. Because while you are proficient in that game and you're not proficient in life, believe me, your skills at playing video games won't put food on your table, won't put a roof over your head, clothes, expensive gas in your tank. You've got too many needs to walk around with glue on your mouth. You need to be talking to your parents every day. Explain to me the intricacies of adulthood and how I need to be prepared for the rigors of adult living that's getting ready to come. Why wait till you're on the way to being evicted before you have a conversation about paying the bills? And parents, I understand the dilemma you're in because you want so much to pour your heart out to them. But when you're pouring your heart out to people that look like they're ignoring you, it's discouraging. I knew it. You ever talk to a child, young adult, and you can tell they weren't even interested? You giving them good information, and the look they're giving you is as if they're saying, hurry up. You're telling them about their future, and they're texting while you're talking. You're helping them get prepared for what's going to happen when they have heartache at least, heartbreak at best. Ding. Hold on, I got a message. So they end up falling to the depth of need and incarceration. In Ecclesiastes, Solomon says this thing. He says, two are better than one. Two are better than one. And then he gives scenarios. He says, two are better than one, because if it's cold at night, two can keep each other warm. Two are better than one, because if one falls in a ditch, the other one will lift him out. Two are better than one, because if he's accosted by a stranger, the two of them can overcome him. He says, but woe to the one who is by himself. You go in your room and you lock yourself away from your parents. Woe to the one who is by. You don't ever want to be bothered. Woe. Soon as you get in the car, you put your buds in your ear and turn on your media, your iPod, and put in music. Woe to the one who is by himself. This longing to be alone is going to ruin you, because this young man shows us very clearly, when I finally get by myself, I'm ruined. I got to tap on the heart of some parents, and I don't have long to do it. I got to tap on the heart of some parents. Here it is. I don't want you to want me when you don't have nothing else. Very tragic that the only time I'm useful for you is when you don't have nothing else. You don't have nobody else. Say amen, parents. I'm preaching good about you and you sitting there quiet. Say amen. Stop daydreaming about how they treated you and say amen up in here. Parents text you, no reply. Call you, no answer. Everything's going good, you don't need them. Boy, it's a mug when that junk happened to you. I know you're in trouble, but I can't answer now. You got to live with it. Got to go through this period of incarceration. Why? Because in this period of incarceration, according to the text, he comes to himself. Come here. Come here, parents. Come here, parents. Come here, parents. When you've done all you can, stop doing.